Good day to all of you. Today we're going to be talking about just motor carrier issues and driver issues as well that they currently face and are of the most importance to drivers and to trucking companies that deal with this kind of stuff in this industry every single day. So, for the driver side of things, professional drivers that drive for companies of all shapes and sizes, one of the biggest concerns for them is obviously the driver compensation. Now, I did mention in some shorts videos that I have on YouTube, just quick little snippets, with driver compensation, drivers should be looking at being paid or at least considering how much they're getting paid in terms of cent per mile, right? So in cents per mile, what is your take home? How much are you taking home? I would avoid, or I would at least negotiate with your potential employers if you're looking to get into this industry, a cent per mile that makes sense so you can pay your mortgage, so you can pay all the different bills that you have come in every single month for your family in order for you to properly go about your business as a human being in an capitalistic world that doesn't take into consideration your well-being as a human being. So you have to create that for yourself because nobody will do that for you in this type of system, unfortunately. Now, with that driver compensation and the cents per mile talk, I would avoid going down the percentage of gross pay just because however you spin it, you seem to get a lot less money. And when you translate that into cents per mile, you're usually, typically speaking, below industry standards. So you are below industry standards in terms of if you're, let's say, driving a dry van, okay? If you're driving a dry van, it's very much so your cents per mile pay should be within industry standards. So let's say, as an example, somewhere between, depending on the state, depending on the province, somewhere in between as a professional commercial driver between 60 and 70 cents per mile right now. So if you're taking a percentage of gross home that's less than between 60 and 70 more, that's not of my concern. If you make more, that's fucking fantastic. But if you're within the average, the industry average, then with that being said, you should be looking at somewhere between 60 and 70 cents. Okay, that's if you're being paid as a percentage of gross. Okay, a lot of companies, they'll tell you, yeah, you know what, you're making 30% of the gross, and then when you do your calculations in terms of the amount of miles you've ran and all that kind of stuff, you take a look at it and you're making 59 cents, 45, 50 cents per mile. That's below industry standards. That's below where you should be. Now, again, I'm saying on the low side, 60 to 65 cents, and on the higher average side, you should be 65 to 70 cents per mile as a company driver. Okay. But that is a major concern for drivers, right? Nobody wants to break their back all day, okay, and have a take home that's less than industry standards, below the industry's minimum standards. And so you have to really take that into consideration as a trucking company as well. Now, in addition to that, obviously the supply and demand of the business is a big issue in the world of trucking, right? So again, when loads are aplenty, okay, typically speaking, rates are lower, right? Because capacity will be, an issue as well. So with the capacity side of things, when there's more trucks available for each load, that means that the rates will be lower because shippers and brokers have more to choose from. When there's less capacity or less available trucks on the road, available for hire, then the rates will be higher because there's less of a pool of drivers / trucking companies to choose from to move that freight. Okay. So the economy is of importance to motor carriers. Okay. The economy is very important. Otherwise, you get into a situation where, you're running a blind business. You're not doing it the right way. You have to take into consideration where you will be sending your trucks. You should be sending your trucks to areas where there are outbound loads, and where the capacity is kind of constrained. That's where you're setting yourself up for success, because there's less trucks in an area where there's more freight, which means your price and your negotiation strength will be favorable to you and your trucking company. Now, again, back to the driver's side of things, truck parking is an issue. There never seems to be enough, especially now with the amount of new authorities that are out there. Again, yes, currently because of the economy, we are losing roughly just over 400 trucking companies a week in the USA, and roughly about 120 in Canada per week. I'm sorry, I don't know if I said per week or per day, but it's per week. And so that has to be taken into consideration, that our legislative bodies, our provincial governments, our state governments, our federal governments, respectively, Canada and US, respectively, need to take into consideration the highway infrastructures, interstate infrastructures, and where they can build out these truck parking spaces and how they can utilize the available ones that are out there right now to expand them to a point where there is more available for truckers out there, so they can park their big rigs when they need to, either legally through hours of service rules or because they actually don't have a load to find currently. So whatever the case may be, it could be a maintenance issue, whatever. There needs to be more truck parking out there. On the motor carrier side of things, or the trucking company side of things, driver shortage is an issue. Now, there's many reasons. Currently, yes, unfavorable economic conditions. But in addition to those economic conditions, there's also not enough new entrants coming in terms of qualified, good drivers available that can replenish the ones that are retiring every single year. And year over year, this trend has been going on now since about 2006, noticeably since about 2012. But since 2006, statistically, it's been happening in the US and Canada. Now, I don't know about Mexico. I would have to read up on that. If anyone that's watching this video is from Mexico, you can let us know if driver shortage is an issue in Mexico or not. I'm not too sure actually for that country at all, specifically speaking of North America. Now, on the commercial driver side of things as well, fuel prices are an issue, but fuel prices are also an issue for trucking companies, right? We've obviously seen exponential increases in fuel prices for all of us across the board. And so that's really, really hurt the profit margin at the end of the day. And so fuel prices is a big issue. Now, there's not so much that we can do as individuals, just because of, again, government policies, also the wars that may break out, throughout the world. This affects oil prices, especially if the wars that are happening are happening with the oil giants or people that influence oil prices, respectively. So that will actually hurt the bottom line for trucking companies and hurt the bottom line for the drivers as well. And also, there's been a lot of for motor carrier side of things, and it affects drivers in a way as well, is the abuse of reforms that have happened in terms of transportation, in terms of lawsuits that come about, right? So you've heard of nuclear verdicts that have popped up. Well, the changes that have been happening in both Canada and the US, and due to the whole insurance costs and all that kind of stuff, that has actually caused tremendous pains for trucking companies, either to scale, so to add more trucks, or to even just a new mom and pop shop trying to open up. These lawsuit issues have really put a dent in the way that a company can run their business accordingly to what's happening. Also, for drivers, speed limiters that are happening. Obviously, in Canada, it's coming to every single province, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. In the U.S., same thing, sort of deal. It's states are doing here and there. So with speed limiters, it's an issue because it doesn't, statistically speaking, doesn't seem like it's really doesn't really seem like it's statistically helped a lot. It doesn't seem like it's really been something that has that we can write home about, so to speak, in terms of really noticeable difference in the amount of accidents, unfortunately the amount of fatalities and things like. It doesn't seem to have fixed that much. Now, is it a money grab from the government, from the administrative bodies like the FMCSA and such, for such regulations to come into place? You would have to ask an expert in that field, but from my perspective, it does not seem like, statistically speaking, it has helped much in terms of accidents. So I don't know. I guess we'll wait to see. Maybe we have to wait a full decade for noticeable changes to come about, or noticeable statistical changes to happen when it comes to that kind of stuff. In addition to all of this, driver retention for trucking companies is a big deal as well. And driver retention is ability for a motor carrier to keep a driver in their fleet. Now, driver turnover is big across the board. For some companies, more than others. But it seems mostly that comes down to motor carriers per se, not just for compensation, but also the way they treat their respective drivers. It could be due to scheduling. It could be to the amount of miles that they run per week or something of that nature, or per month. Or availability that causes drivers to say, you know what, I don't want to work for this company. I'm going to find something that fits my schedule better. There are some drivers out there that want to be on the road all the time, and, a lot of those guys and women out there that are in the cabs that want to be on the road all the time. It's people that just, their schedules work out that way, their life circumstances work that way, that they just want to be on the road all the time. But there's a huge percentage that would love to be having some weekends that are free, and some Saturdays and Sundays and Fridays, for example. So if a company's not willing to at least negotiate, at least come to some sort of compromise between the driver and the actual company, drivers are always looking for, a better place of employment. So that has to be worked on as well. Maybe it could just be due to the dispatch too, right? Maybe the dispatchers aren't trained accordingly to respect the drivers as they should, and talk with the drivers in a calm, respectful manner, as they should. And if they're not, maybe a driver says, you know what, to heck with this place. I'm going to go find another place of employment, so to speak, as well. Now, also for drivers, a big point of concern is also the delays at customer facilities, pickups and delivery locations, layovers and detention. You go to some of these distribution centers, you're waiting 6 hours to get offloaded. Now, that's even on the low side. I've seen them as high as a full day, 24 hours to get offloaded or more. Right? So this is a problem, right? Time is money. People want to move. Drivers want to move. So it's an issue for them as well, right? They want to respectfully be able to go pick up. If it takes an hour to get loaded, fine. That's great. But 8 hours, 10 hours at some places. And then the same thing, rinse and repeat at delivery, right? That's a concern for commercial drivers, right? That takes a toll on the body as well. It takes a toll on the hours of service, takes a toll on revenue, everything, right? It causes billions of dollars. Detention causes billions of dollars of lost profits for drivers because of waiting times, right? Because of customer facilities. And that comes down to compromise both from the customers, but also motor carriers and brokers, respectfully, as well. There has to be, as they have to come to a consensus, a compromise that'll help all three parties involved in the transaction. In addition to that, I did mention insurance costs for motor carriers. It just seems to keep going up, and any excuse in the book seems to be used, right? Inflation, et cetera, right? Someone coughs, sneezes across the sea, its insurance costs go up. Unfortunately, that's what's happening in the industry. So it's a lot. It costs a lot more to keep a truck secure on the road, insured on the road, it's a big pain point for motor carriers as well. Now, also driver training standards, right, to pass a test. That's a big issue in the industry as well. I know that, for example, in province of Ontario, there's the MELT program. You have to have 103.5 hours of training in order to get your commercial driver's license, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Plus pass a bunch of tests and all that stuff. I don't think it's enough. I truly don't think it's enough. I think that quality standards need to be upheld more stringently. And also there needs to be an easier route from that perspective to help drivers get through these training processes in the proper way, and also be prepared for what comes after they get their driver's license, their commercial driver's license. In addition to this, for motor carriers, they're also looking at there's a mechanic shortage, diesel technicians shortages that are out there to get their trucks turned over in the right amount of time, so they can get back on the road in a right amount of time. So this is an issue that will take some time to get fixed. I don't have an answer for it. If you do, write it in the comments when it comes to diesel technicians and stuff. What could be a solution for this, for this type of trade to be more prevalent for people that may be looking for a career change as well. For drivers, the ELD mandate, again, some drivers love it, some don't. It kind of, again, my view on it is it's good in some instances. Easier to kind of see how many hours you got left and all that kind of stuff. But at the same time, it's kind of a machine, for lack of a better term, that kind of teaches you or tries to coerce you to drive at times where you may feel tired and sleep at times where you may not be tired. So these ELD mandates, I don't believe they are the solution to a safe industry. However, the FMCSA pushes it. It gets lobbied and lobbied and lobbied by the mega carriers, etc. And here we are with that being one of the top 10 issues for commercial drivers when it comes to the trucking industry as well. And then also commercial drivers, this will take a while, but autonomous trucks, that could be an issue for commercial drivers. They may be a little bit more concerned when it comes to that kind of stuff. Because again, that could be their livelihoods being taken away from them because of autonomous trucks coming into play. I don't have an opinion right now about autonomous trucks. I want to see employment data and statistics, and 5-6 years down the road or 10 years down the road, we can take a look at it and be like, damn, this killed the industry, or this has really caused pain. Now, if it gets to the point where it's exponentially hurting livelihood of drivers, that's going to be noticeable because it's going to become breaking news. But for now, I think there's a lot of kinks that they would have to work out in the autonomous industry, truck industry, in order for that to become a true issue when it comes to drivers, commercial drivers that hold valid licenses. Now, one of the last things that I want to just mention is driver distraction. It's a concern for both commercial drivers and motor carriers. Now, the distracted driving could be the fidgeting with cell phones and smartphones, etc., recording videos while driving and using handheld devices to do so. It could cause accidents and they could be fatal. So I'm not a fan of distracted driving. I think there needs to be definite limitations to how much a driver can use their phone. There needs to be limitations to freight brokers calling drivers at certain times. If we have access as freight brokers to visibility and we see where the truck is, there's no need for our representatives to be calling drivers and saying, hey, is this correct? Are you guys here? Or can you give us a current location? While we have all the visibility already at our hands, I think that's just playing with trouble, and that could, you never know. You simply never know where that distraction could come from that could cause someone to lose their life. So I'm an advocate for less distraction for drivers so they can do and finish their job in a professional manner. So there you have it, guys. Those are the issues that drivers deal with, motor carriers deal with. This is good for you if you're a freight broker. It's good for you if you're a driver. It's good for you to look and understand that these are issues that are happening in the industry. If you're a motor carrier, whether you're new or looking to scale your already existing motor carrier company, this is good news for you to look at. Now, if you guys, if you're a dispatcher trying to get into this industry, you guys can reach out to me. We do have dispatch courses available to get you into the industry the right way. Our students are a testament to the way we run our business. In addition to this, if you're a freight broker trying to get into the industry, we have a program set up and designed to get you in ethically. So you treat drivers with respect, trucking companies with respect, and ethically treat them in terms of the price that you offer to them and how you go about your pricing strategy with your customers. We're one of the only ones in the entire world that focuses our training on business ethics from all sides, and we take pride in that respectfully. Also, if you are a motor carrier if you are someone looking to get into the trucking industry and need assistance in consulting services when it comes to opening up your trucking company, we also offer those services to reach out. So reach out to us if you have any questions, comments, or concerns about trucking, authorities, regulations, permits, licensing, insurance, the tech side of things, the IT side of things, website design. We do all of this consulting work in the industry as well. So thank you very much for listening, and I hope this has been somewhat educational, if not fully educational, for all of you that are in here. If you have any questions, comments, or concerns, like, share, comment, let me know how things went in the video, and we'll take it from there. So